Understanding the histogram. We need to take a moment to find out why the histogram is important and what we can learn from it when we are working with our images in Photoshop. To show the histogram, I'll choose Window and then Histogram. I'm going to pull it out of the nesting with a navigator and just float it here. And then I'll right-click to choose the navigator. And I'll use the flyout menu from the histogram panel in order to expand the view and then just reposition it up here at the top. Alright, so what we are going at in the histogram is a visual representation of all the pixels in our image. And here on the left-hand side, these are all the darker values in the image. And then we go through the midtones. We get to the lighter values and white will be on the right. Right now, Photoshop is working with a cached view of the histogram. And I know that because we've got this little warning icon. If I click on that, it will do a more accurate count of all the pixels and remap them in the histogram, so that we get a better idea of the actual true values in the image. So, there's really no right or wrong histogram because the histogram really is just showing us what the tonal values are in the image. I want to go ahead and use my marquee tool and click and drag in this texture area on the left-hand side of the open document. Now, we would consider this to be high key, and so the histogram is going to appear on the right-hand side because all of the lighter values appear over to the right. So, it's not a good or bad histogram. It's a histogram that accurately reflects those lighter values. If I select an area here in the center of this image, well, this is just your average key image. So most of the values are going to appear in the middle of the histogram. And if I click and drag over here on the right-hand side, well, this is a lower key image. So most of the values are going to be over towards the left. So each histogram is appropriate for the content of the image. In fact, it is the content of the image. So let's close this image and let's take a look at these next three images that I have in the same document. So I'm going to select the first area over here on the left. Now, when I look at the histogram, now when we can see there's a spike on the left-hand side. Let's go ahead and update this cache to make sure that we are seeing it accurately. And this could be a problem. So if the intent was to hold detail in the shadows of this image, well, this histogram is telling me that some of those shadows are without detail. They've been pushed to pure black. Now, many photographers push their shadows to black if they don't contain information that helps tell the story about the image, or if they are using black to help create negative and positive space. So really, it's an aesthetic choice. When I select this next area here, well, on the right, we've got some areas that go to pure white. And sure enough, we can see those spikes in the histogram. So again, the histogram's not wrong. It's not a bad histogram, but if the intent was to hold detail in the highlights, then this image wasn't properly exposed. And unfortunately, when we are talking about highlights, that is a problem when you're printing and you know what I can see this might be a little bit misleading because I've selected a little bit too far here into the white. So let me just remake that selection. So we get a little bit more accurate of a histogram. There we go. So we can see there's still a spike over here on the right. So some of these areas are white without detail. I just wanted to make sure that you knew I wasn't trying to pick this border area to show that. So I was saying that it was a problem when we are printing, and that's because our eyes are very sensitive to patterns, and we will see a dark pattern in the rest of the image. But all of a sudden, if the whites are pure white, if they've been clipped, then we won't see a dot in that area. and our eyes will just go directly to that area and it'll be unsettling, then we probably won't get as much enjoyment out of the image. Alright, so this third area right here, well, this would be considered a flat image. So if we look at the histogram, we actually don't have any value in the darkest dark areas, nor in a highlight or white areas. So we probably want to add contrast to this image. Alright, as we move through the next few videos, using the levels and the curves adjustment layers, and we make adjustments to the dynamic range of our images, we want to refer to the histogram just to make sure that we maintain the information in the file that we want to work with.